Hi, hello, and welcome to the Preventive Health Traveler channel. Well, we will talk about now something with a very high risk in some travelers in the world. The name is the DVT or deep venous thrombosis. This is called to the economic class syndrome. And we will talk about how it's happening, why, and how is the better way to prevent it. I am Dr. Antonio Muñoa, I'm vascular surgeon.
I'm Megan Swan, wellness coach and CEO of Alta Vita. With more and more people flying and longer distances, it's so important to understand this health risk. And honestly, until I had met Dr. Muñoa, I hadn't even heard of it or understood or believed that it would be something that's a health risk even for young people.
Yeah, this is could be happening in young people or people, but there are some specific risks in one's kind of populations. The DVT or deep venous thrombosis is when the blood clot form into the veins. Usually is in the veins of the legs, and this is happening especially in flights over 6 hours, no? In the economic class because you have less space to move. And the moving is very important to try to prevent. Well, the problem of this clot into the veins of the legs is the possibility to this clot move to the lungs and then happen a embolic pulmonary and could be this inclusive fatal in the flies.
Yeah. So what would be some symptoms or telltale signs, or is the problem that you might not even know?
Well, that's very important. First, what is the most population in risk? And you need to know this. If you are a smoker, you have overweight, if you have a background of cancer, or inclusive, if you have some kind of immobilization of the legs for some kind of broken bones or something to need to put some cast in the legs, then this is the population with high risk of present the DVT. Then this is one of very important. Then the symptoms. Well, this is sometimes difficult because inclusive it's possible that you don't have any kind of symptoms in the first hours, no? But the the most frequently symptoms are the swelling in the leg. You can feel pain sometimes, and in this moment you need to immediately looking for a doctor for try to make a diagnosis. It's very important. Cramps, swelling, and pain.
Yeah, and I think that's important to point out because a lot of people, I think a lot of the telltale signs that there's like a real circulation issue or a blood clot are not necessarily things that people think like this could be potentially dangerous. They think they just have like a little cramp in their leg, or which makes sense after sitting on a plane for 6 to 8 hours. Um, are there any other symptoms that you could point to that maybe it's like, okay, no, this is more than, and swelling, like, what do we mean in terms of swelling? They just compare it to their other leg.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a difference between one another leg, then this is very specific in many cases of DVT. No, then that's one of the most important things of this kind of disease. No? Then how can we prevent this kind of disease? Well, this is unfortunately this is not very frequently. Then that is it is the idea of this podcast is not put alarms about something or be try to be like a big tragedy. No, no, just is information for try to reduce the possibility of this kind of events for the travelers. Then very important is start by staying hydrated. Try to reduce or use the alcohol or the coffee in this kind of travel, and this is very important because many times in the airports when we drink coffee or alcohol when we are waiting for the flight. Then try to avoid these activities before you travel for a long distance. It's very important too when you are in the flight, try to move your legs, try to activate the muscles of your legs, and if it's possible to have a small walk in the air, it's could be fantastic. No? The other very important point is the use on stocks. No, the use on compressive stocks is very very important, and this is another completely information. What kind of stocks do you need to use? You can use stocks with pressures between 10 millimeters high and 30. That's the ideal. Yeah, ideal.
Yeah, I had never honestly even heard of compression socks until you introduced them to me, and then also in the running world, some runners wear probably not the same degree of compression. It's something that you would also use maybe after a treatment or a surgery, but the idea is it's a sock that is much tighter. It's holding your leg. It's helping your body uh, essentially with the circulation. Obviously, when gravity is pulling all the blood in your body to your feet for a long period of time, it takes the your system more energy and effort to constantly be circulating against gravity. Little hacks that, I always mention to clients. I love that you called out the sort of the culture in airports, which really encourages, having a few drinks and, or if it's early morning, like slamming coffees throughout the flight. It's quite life-changing just to switch to water, coconut water, at the very least, match your alcoholic beverages or your coffee with water. So it's not just, dehydrating substances that you're consuming through before the flight and throughout the flight and then after. And yeah, I mean, I'm a yogi, so I always try and do like a little bit of stretching when I get up to go to the bathroom. That's the other thing. That's another telltale sign. If you don't need to go to the bathroom on a flight at least once in 6 hours, you're not hydrating enough. You need to get up, and that's a great excuse. I actually look for when there's a bit of a line for the bathroom because then you have this opportunity to stand and you can do like little tiny leg raises and sort of activate your legs in other ways as you're standing or walking down the aisle. Don't be afraid to bother the person beside you if you have that middle seat. Get up and
You
stretch your
make a favor to the other passenger too, because the passenger will be moved.
yeah, the passenger's like, oh, now I can like stretch a little bit and
They don't know.
not feel so awkward.
Yeah.
So
Well,
where do you recommend that people buy compression socks? Like I know in your clinic you sell them, but if you were in North America, did they sell them in the drugstores?
yeah, the drugstores, or inclusive you can ask for in different platforms to you can find all in this time. We buy everything online, then this is
Yeah,
don't have any kind of problem. The point maybe is how is the measure of your legs. Then you measure over 1 centimeter over of your ankle, and then the other measure is in the bigger part, yeah,
your calf, like the biggest part of your calf muscle.
in the calf below of the knee, and the other is in the middle, in the middle in between the knee and the hip. No, this three area you have a measure with any kind of scale, and then this in the box you can see the different groups of the measures for your optimal stocks. No socks. Then points, very important points. The idea of this podcast is stay hydrated the most possibility before the travel, avoid the use of alcohol or coffee, and move.
Yeah,
Moving,
I think another thing we can add there is try and avoid like super high sodium things, snacks. If you can have a piece of fresh fruit or something, again, that's hydrating and not dehydrating, that's ideal. And yeah, tiny movements. I think this is what most people don't appreciate it. Like we just kind of get seated and we don't try and move. Like even just trying to move in your seat, changing your leg position, crossing your legs, uncrossing them, and of course, ideally, like get up and walk around. And again, you can go up on your heels as you're standing there waiting for the bathroom. You can just do some like mini squats, just get those muscles moving. It really helps your circulation.
Yeah. Ankle exercise in your seat if it's possible to wake up to the other passenger, but try to put in moving your legs, your calf, most important. And if you have story about DVT before the travel, that's very important to talk with your doctor for use some kind of drugs that try to avoid this problem in this particular group who have the story of DVT.
And remind us again, like it's, anywhere above 35 years of age, this could be an issue with all of the sort of cross risk factors, or from what age?
Yeah, well, the age is after the 30, but in particular situation, so for example, immobilization of the leg is important,
Mm.
and the population with the high risk are smokers, back story of cancer, overweight. Yeah, that's the group
Okay.
of woman to use
Contraceptive, no?
ultrasound. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And again, this is not for like a 2 hour flight. This is when you're going like overseas, 5 to 6 hour longer flight, that it's really something that you would want to consider. I always travel with compression socks. I can sense like after a certain point that it might be a good day to put them on. And sometimes it's nice that you sit down in your seat, you take off your shoes. That also helps with circulation, is taking off your shoes. And you have these special, airplane socks, and you wear them throughout the flight, and then you get to put, it can be actually more comfortable throughout the flight to be just in those socks. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm happy to stay here in this second chapter of this new project. And if you want something to talk about the idea of the traveler and health and wellness, we are open for any kind of issue or some kind of area to research. We are happy to share with you our knowledge.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing everything on deep vein thrombosis today, Dr. Muñoa.
Thank you to you. See you soon.